The St. Regis Hotel's valet line gleamed with Bentleys and Maybachs as I pulled up in my deliberately maintained 2010 Toyota Camry. The valet's face twisted with barely concealed disdain. Exactly the reaction I'd carefully cultivated for the past decade while building my empire in secret. "Really, Michael?" My sister Rachel's voice dripped with mockery as I handed over my keys. "You couldn't even rent something decent for Dad's 65th birthday?" I straightened my intentionally modest suit, actually a bespoke Tom Ford that cost more than her Mercedes, and smiled. "The Camry gets me where I need to go." My phone buzzed discreetly. "Mr. Harrison, your Gulfstream G650 is prepped for tomorrow's Hong Kong meeting. Shall we inform the board about Atlas Aviation's acquisition of Morrison Airlines?" I glanced at my watch. 7:45 p.m. In 45 minutes, my family would discover that their struggling son who couldn't afford a new car had just acquired their airline company in a $3.8 billion deal. "Michael," my brother David's voice boomed across the lobby. "Still driving that trash heap? Though I suppose teaching high school doesn't leave much room for luxury." If he only knew that the teacher they mocked owned Atlas Aviation, the mysterious corporation that had been systematically acquiring airlines and private jet companies across 3 continents. The modest high school economics teacher act was just a carefully constructed cover for my $12 billion aviation empire. Through the grand windows, I could see my father holding court at the central table, probably sharing another story about how his real children had carried on the Morrison legacy while his youngest had found his level in education. "Mr. Morrison," my chief operations officer approached, disguised as a hotel staff member. "Everything is in position. The announcement is prepared, and your jet is visible from the ballroom windows." I nodded, checking my watch again. 8:15 p.m. Time to start the evening's real entertainment. The ballroom sparkled with old money and new ambition. My father had insisted on having business news displayed on massive screens throughout the evening, a decision that would soon prove deliciously ironic. "There's my practical son." My mother's voice carried just enough to draw attention. "Michael, darling, couldn't you have at least rented a nice car for your father's birthday?" "The Camry's reliable, Mother," I replied, taking my assigned spot at the edge of the family photos, the same position I'd occupied since refusing to join Morrison Airlines' executive program. 8:25 p.m. The champagne was flowing as the MC called for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, as requested by our host, please direct your attention to the screens for a special announcement." Just then, the distinctive roar of a Gulfstream G650, my personal jet, filled the air as it performed a perfectly timed flyby. The ballroom's floor-to-ceiling windows offered an unobstructed view of the sleek aircraft, its Atlas Aviation logo gleaming in the evening light. My father raised his glass, expecting to see his airline's stock ticker. Instead, the breaking news banner flashed across every screen. "Breaking! Atlas Aviation acquires Morrison Airlines in $3.8 billion deal. Aviation giant reveals CEO identity. Wall Street stunned by Morrison takeover." The champagne glass froze halfway to my father's lips as his eyes locked onto the screens. In that moment, a decade of dismissal and condescension crystallized into dawning horror. "Oh, and about that trash heap Camry," I said into the sudden silence, holding up my phone to show the Atlas Aviation app. "I think my fleet of private jets might be a bit more impressive." The ballroom fell into stunned silence as the screens continued to flash with headlines. "Michael Morrison, from high school teacher to aviation tycoon. Atlas Aviation's mysterious CEO revealed as Morrison Air. Morrison Airlines stock soars 180% on acquisition news." "This has to be some mistake," David stammered, his Rolex-adorned wrist trembling as he checked his phone. "Atlas Aviation is the company that's been revolutionizing private air travel. They're the ones who bought out your precious jet charter service last year." I finished smoothly. "Yes, that was me. Every flight you bragged about at family dinners, operated by my company. Those route optimization algorithms you mocked as teachers' math, they now power the largest private aviation network in the world. My security team, all disguised as hotel staff, moved into strategic positions around the room. The servers and valets transformed into executive protection, their earpieces now visible. For those just joining this revelation, I spoke into the microphone, my voice carrying the authority of someone who commanded billions. I'm Michael Morrison, founder and CEO of Atlas Aviation. You might know us from our revolutionary air taxi service, our supersonic jet development program, or perhaps from the fact that we now own Morrison Airlines. Rachel's aviation consultant husband turned ghostly pale, suddenly realizing he'd been unknowingly working for me while mocking my modest lifestyle at family gatherings. The flight patterns you drew in class. My father's voice cracked. All those times you were teaching aviation economics. We're actually managing global flight operations, I confirmed. Every time you mocked my teaching career, I was building the most sophisticated aviation network in history. Amazing what you can accomplish when people think you're just grading papers. The screen's updated with more breaking news. Atlas Aviation reveals global reach. $12 billion empire built in secret. Wall Street scrambles as aviation's greatest mystery is solved. Michael Morrison, the billionaire who drove a Camry. My mother clutched her pearls, swaying slightly. But your small apartment near the school is actually the penthouse of a building I own, I explained, enjoying the cascade of realizations crossing their faces. Every time you pitted my humble living conditions, I was acquiring another airline. Those parent-teacher conferences you thought were so beneath you? I was often conducting multi-billion-dollar deals between classes. David pushed forward, his usual arrogance replaced by desperate calculation. The new flight booking platform, the revolutionary system, is mine, I finished. Every innovation you praised in board meetings came from my team. Though I should thank you, your constant condescension made it incredibly easy to operate unnoticed. My father found his voice again, though it trembled with barely contained rage. The aviation industry will never accept. They already have. I cut him off, nodding to my CFO, who had been posing as a wine steward. She distributed tablets showing Atlas Aviation's complete market dominance. You see, Dad, while you were busy teaching David and Rachel how to run a real business, I was learning something far more valuable, how to build an empire from the ground up. Every time you mocked my Camry, I was acquiring another fleet of jets. Every time you dismissed my career as just teaching, I was revolutionizing global aviation. The reporters who had come to cover a simple birthday party were now scrambling for positions, their cameras trained on the family drama unfolding before them. But why? My father struggled to form the question, his birthday cake untouched before him. Why reveal everything now? I pulled out my Atlas Aviation key card, the one that granted access to over 500 private jets worldwide. Because timing is everything in aviation, isn't it, Dad? That's what you always taught us. Well, that and know your place. Though I suppose I finally do know my place, in the cockpit of the company that just bought yours. The screens flashed with more updates. Atlas Aviation announces complete restructuring of Morrison Airlines. Michael Morrison's net worth soars to $12.3 billion. Aviation genius emerges from classroom to claim industry crown. Rachel, desperately trying to salvage something, stepped forward. Michael, about all those things we said about your car. Save it for your travel arrangements. I cut her off. Though, I should warn you, Atlas Aviation has very strict policies about passenger behavior. No more mocking people based on their choice of transportation. My COO distributed leather portfolios to each family member. Inside, you'll find documentation of every flight, every charter, and every jet you've unknowingly booked through Atlas subsidiaries. I've been particularly detailed about the correlation between your mockery and my acquisition of your favorite routes. You can't just ground our jets, David protested weakly. Actually, I can and I will, I replied, producing another document. Atlas Aviation is terminating all preferential agreements with Morrison family members effective immediately. Your private jet access ends at midnight. Consider it my birthday gift to Dad, showing him exactly how much his real business relied on his poor teacher's son. Through the ballroom windows, a fleet of Atlas Aviation jets performed a choreographed flyby, their engines drowning out my family's protests. You know what's fascinating? I addressed the room, tossing my Camry keys onto the table. Every time you mocked my car, you were flying on my airlines. Every time you dismissed me as a teacher, I was learning exactly how to revolutionize your industry. Every time you looked down on the sun in the modest sedan, you were actually dealing with the future of aviation. My mother attempted one last intervention. Darling, surely we can discuss this as a family. Oh, now you want to include me as family? I smiled, gesturing to the jets outside. Funny how that works when you discover your embarrassment of a sun controls the skies you travel through. Standing at the podium, I surveyed the room. Let me be clear. Atlas Aviation will be implementing immediate changes. First, all Morrison Airlines routes are being restructured. Second, your precious private jet memberships? Revoked. Perhaps it's time you all learn the value of a reliable Camry. My security team began escorting my family from their seats of honor. As they stood, stunned and diminished, I called out, "Oh, and Dad, happy birthday. Don't worry about the cake. I'm having it delivered to my high school's teacher's lounge." They always appreciated my contributions, unlike some people. The headlines would run for months, but nothing could match the satisfaction of that moment, when the son they mocked for his old car revealed himself as the owner of their private jets. Walking toward the exit where my Camry waited, I paused for one final remark. "By the way, that trash heap you all laughed at, I'll keep driving it." As a reminder that true success isn't about what you drive, it's about what you quietly build while others are busy showing off. Sometimes revenge isn't just about proving them wrong. It's about controlling the very skies they thought they owned. The morning after my father's birthday revelation, I sat in my true office, the top floor of Atlas Aviation's headquarters, watching as our fleet of jets painted contrails across the Manhattan skyline. The Morrison Airlines logo was being systematically replaced on every aircraft, terminal, and building worldwide. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with headlines. Atlas Aviation reshapes global travel. Michael Morrison, former teacher, now industry leader. The aviation surprise no one saw coming. David stormed into my office, holding his private jet membership card. My flight to Dubai got canceled. The whole board is stranded. I stayed calm, scanning flight routes on my screen. Actually, your VIP access was removed. Remember last Thanksgiving when you made fun of my Camry while boarding your jet? That was my plane. But what about the shareholders? The contracts? They'll need to be renegotiated, I said with a smile. Consider this a lesson in humility, something our family's been lacking. Economy class can be very enlightening. The live updates on my office screens kept rolling in. Morrison executives grounded. Airlines race to partner with Atlas. New rules under Michael Morrison's leadership. Next came Rachel, dragging her designer suitcase. My Monte Carlo trip got canceled. Do you even know who I was meeting? The Prince's investment team? I replied, yes. They're on my private jet right now, flying to discuss buying your husband's company. Amazing how fast people switch sides once they know who really runs the skies. Outside the window, my old Camry sat in its usual parking spot, now surrounded by luxury cars belonging to CEOs eager to talk to me, the new head of Atlas Aviation. Rachel stared at my car. It was part of your cover. Every scratch, every time you laughed at it. Those moments helped build this, I said. While you admired your cup holders, I was collecting airline stocks. Then Mom arrived, clearly upset. The charity gala in Paris has been moved to the high school gym where I teach, I said. Though I hear those flight attendants you once insulted are doing great under Atlas now. Below us, the operations center hummed with energy. This was where I'd secretly managed global flights late at night after grading papers. Last came Dad, escorted by security. He looked small, like all his confidence was gone. My connections, he started. Now know the quiet teacher you all ignored is the one controlling their airports, I said. All those aircraft and routes you bragged about, they were mine. You just didn't know it. I showed him the Atlas network on my screens. Each of these routes, an airline I bought while you mocked my Camry. That same Camry helped pay for the jet I used to meet investors, while you thought I was at school meetings. You're destroying everything I built, he whispered. No, Dad. I'm building everything you wouldn't. A company based on real results, not appearances. I stood and adjusted the CEO badge I used to hide in my school bag. Now if you need a ride, try the bus. You said my Camry was only slightly better than one. Maybe now you'll appreciate it. Security footage showed David heading for his canceled flight, Rachel trying to rebook her charter, and Dad facing the company board alone. Oh, and Dad, I called after him. That Camry you mocked? Its ownership papers are worth more than your airline now. Funny how things change. Just then, my phone buzzed again. Atlas Aviation introduces supersonic travel. Michael Morrison plans to make private jets affordable. Former teacher reshapes the skies. There was a knock. Mr. Thompson, my old school principal, walked in smiling. Quite a night, he said. The students can't believe their teacher owns half the world's jets. Good, I said, showing him a new hologram. We're launching the school's aviation program. Flight simulators, scholarships, direct hiring. Let's teach kids it's not about what car you drive. It's about what you build. More headlines appeared. Atlas to invest $500 million in education. Old Morrison jets become training tools. Empire supports future innovators. From the lobby, Rachel's voice rose. What do you mean my cards are frozen? I laughed softly. Another economics lesson. While they mock my Camry, I bought their credit card companies too. The media had gathered around my Camry now, trying to photograph the car that had hidden a billion-dollar company. Your dad's birthday cake was delivered to the teacher's lounge, Mr. Thompson added. Perfect, I replied. While my family laughed at me, those teachers supported me. They deserve the celebration. Another alert buzzed in. Breaking. Atlas buys global credit services. Morrison credit lines frozen. Michael Morrison, from Camry to Powerhouse. I picked up my old teacher's briefcase, now worth more than my family's net worth, and walked toward the door. Time for class, Mr. Thompson. Today's topic? How a teacher driving a Camry built an empire. As I drove back to school in that same car, I passed my family's grounded jets. I smiled. Proving them wrong was satisfying, but teaching the next generation how was the real win. In the school parking lot, my Camry fit right in with the other simple cars. And just like that, the teacher who once hid in plain sight was ready to teach his most powerful lesson yet.